Now this second part of the video, we have the same data set about the smokers data set. Given the age and gender information, we have information about whether a person is smoking or not, and then we have to predict. Now let's show a very simple way to use neural network in doing this. So we will use, see, neural network has several implementations in Python. The simplest one is based on sklearn. So here is one technical point. In case of sklearn, you cannot use GPU, that's the graphical processing unit, which is used for very heavy computations, especially in computer vision problems. Rather, when you use sklearn, you will be able to implement neural networks which are simple so that they can run on the CPU. For running neural networks on GPU based systems, there are other packages which are TensorFlow, Keras, and PyTorch. So these three are very famous. If you see the cheat sheet, I have shared TensorFlow and Keras based implementation. But to run that on Jupyter notebook, you need to do some installations before that. So I will skip that right now, and I will show you the implementation using sklearn. That is, you run a very simple code which can run on the CPU also. So the first step will be, of course, the same. From sklearn dot neural network. So now, till now, you have seen, if you have to run linear regression or logistic regression, you would include sklearn dot linear model. That is the class subclass from in the sklearn, which contains functions and objects, functions and classes related to linear models like linear regression, logistic regression, etc. Now there is a separate subclass of neural network within this sklearn, and then we will write import MLP. I will explain it. The abbreviation is multi-layer perceptron classifier. Okay, I think C will be capital. Okay, MLP classifier. Run that. So what is multi-layer perceptron? Your usual neural network, which we have done in the previous video also called feed forward neural network. That is a very simple neural network where you have input layer, some hidden layers, and output layer. They are interconnected with each other, and data, the flow is from input to output. Simple feed forward neural networks. There are some neural networks, advanced neural networks, where there will be some you can say feedback link, or there may be some way of feeding back the output to the input. They are called recurrent neural networks. There are some neural networks which involve some sort of convolutional operations with special window and filter functions. They are called convolutional neural networks. But a simple neural network, which is the feed forward neural network, is called multi-layer perceptron. What is perceptron? Actually, you can think of one neuron is actually also called perceptron. Okay, so this is about the abbreviation why we write MLP classifier. So sklearn is able to implement this simple neural network. If you want to implement convolutional neural network or recurrent neural networks, or similarly we have something called LSTM, long-term short-term memory neural networks. You can have probabilistic neural networks. There are a lot of such neural networks. MLP, multi-layer perceptron, involves a very simple feed forward neural network which we have done. Now after importing this, see, data is already there. We have done the splitting into training testing part already. We just need to run the neural network to predict the values. For that, let's first define the object which will store all the values of neural network. So let's call that NN classifier, neural network classifier, is equal to. So we will now have this MLP classifier, and then we need to feed some parameters. So one of the parameter is hidden layer sizes. So we are right now having here, suppose I have written 5 and let me make it small 3. So what I want to say is that let's have 3 hidden layers and each hidden layer has 2 neurons. Okay, there are other parameters also which you can pass on to this function, but let's rely on this one only. So now when I executed this, it has now set up a neural network which has 3 hidden layers. Each hidden layer has 2 neurons. Now we need to fit this NN classifier dot fit, and we need to pass on this X train and Y train. So we will now train the neural network. So this has trained the neural network, and let's save this also in some variable, suppose CLF classifier. So CLF, you can see, has now lot of parameters which we can some things we already can get from the theory. Suppose learning rate, if you remember, I have told you during gradient descent what learning rate is. You can get that value here. Similarly, loss function value you can get here. What is the maximum number of iterations for gradient descent you can run? So similarly, what are the number of layers we have in this case? So we can basically get all these informations, but right now we are interested in one thing. We want to predict. Now if I pass on the X test, it should be able to give me, okay, so it has predicted the same thing what we did using logistic regression. So this is all dummy example, but this will enable you to run neural network for any other case also. And now instead of X and Y, you can have X input from some CSV file. So nothing new. We can using pandas package, how to read the CSV file or Excel file, and then you can extract columns there. You can store all the inputs separately in vectors, one vector. You can store output in other vector. Then you have this train test split, this function. See, this is very important function. Once you have data set, whether it is via some Excel sheet, whether it is via some CSV file, or you may have a data set. There are online ways of getting data set also, but you need to first split data set into training and testing. So this function is very important, and here you have to mention what percentage of data set should be used as testing data set. Okay, so this is till this is all the steps are common, that is reading the data, splitting the data. Then it depends if you want to use linear regression. If it's an estimation problem, then you have to write there from sklearn.linear model input linear regression. If you want to use logistic regression, it is from sklearn.linear model input logistic regression. If it is neural network, from sklearn.neural networks input MLP classifier. So this is the last now, really the last video we have. This video is really part of the previous video, and unfortunately, because of several incidents, my own personal issues, I could not cover all the topics, but I hope that you are now at least at the stage where you can learn Python further of your own. Anyone of you who would like to explore more into machine learning is now fully eligible for that. If you really understand the concepts, you can study support vector machines, you can study other techniques also. So I wish you all the best in the examination. So this is the last thing we have covered, so the implementation of artificial neural network in Python.